The beginning of the NFL season is only a few days away. And I'm excited. If you're watching this video, you're probably excited as well. And if you're watching this video, you're probably wondering, what is this guy's predictions? How much of an idiot is he going to be? Or how much of a genius could I be? Because today in this video, I'm going to give you my predictions for the big awards. And that's MVP, of course, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, the Offensive Defensive Rookies of the Year, Coach of the Year, Comeback Player of the Season, obviously an unofficial award, but just my prediction on who I think the first coach will be sacked is going to be. And then at the end, my Super Bowl prediction and the winner for this 2024 season that is about to kick off in a few days with the Ravens and the Chiefs. So stick around for all those predictions. I'm going to do in separate shorts my predictions for records and the division winners. They're going to be in separate short videos. But stick around, let's get right into the video with my MVP pick. Now I just know that this player is going to cause some uproar just because of how successful he has been. It's not an out of the blue pick. It is a very easy, very simple answer. And it's the best player in the National Football League, Patrick Mahomes. As I said, people are not going to like it because of how successful Patrick Mahomes is and has been for many years. They've won the last two Super Bowls, the Chiefs, large part because of their quarterback, Mahomes. And they could be the first team in history to win a three-peat. Now, do I think they're going to win a three-peat? Well, stick around because, you know, the Super Bowl prediction is at the end of the video. But Patrick Mahomes, as an individual, I think will be the MVP this season. I think he's set up in terms of the personnel around him to potentially, honestly, have the best season of his career, which is a scary thought. Now, looking back at last year, Mahomes actually probably had one of the worst statistical performances of his career across the whole season. And not to his fault, because the people around him, namely Kadarius Toney, MVS, among others, just could not catch the ball. They could not throw the ball for a large part of the season. It felt like a good 2/3 at least. Travis Kelce banged up, you know, a lot of young players and a lot of just receivers that weren't trustworthy. So they had to resort to running the ball a lot, which is not really what they were known for. And it resulted in Mahomes having a down year. Still obviously ended in a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP, but this season, look out for Mahomes to just have a historic season. He's got the likes of Rashee Rice, who I think is going to be phenomenal. He's his number one option. He's number one guy at receiver, along with Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce's getting older, but he's still going to play, obviously, a part in this offense, a big part. He doesn't need to be Superman, though, anymore. Rashee Rice, the young receiver, I think will step up. He already stepped up in the second half of last season, and rose as that number one receiver. And then on top of that, they've added Hollywood Brown, who is a great piece, obviously going into this season a bit banged up, but, you know, ex-Cardinal, watched him a bit. He's a nice outside player. He can make plays. He's not the worst in the world compared to what they've had. And then drafting Xavier Worthy in the first round. He's an explosive beast. He can be that Tyreek Hill type player, just taking the top off the defense, making explosive plays where need be, and really bringing back that sort of old Chiefs style that we were used to seeing with Tyreek Hill, as I mentioned. So yes, it might be a boring pick, but MVP Patrick Mahomes, I can really see the Chiefs and, as I said, the quarterback Mahomes having an unbelievable season this year. Now we move to my Defensive Player of the Year pick, and it's TJ Watt of the Steelers. I think every season this is my guy for this award because he is just phenomenal. The amount of production he has just had every single year consistently since he's entered the league is on another level. Since 2017, when he entered the league, he is first in sacks, QB hits, and forced fumbles. Since 2017, that is consistency at its finest, and he's a defensive force. Compared to when he's not on the field as well for the Steelers, it is a stark difference in this defense. When he's on that field, TJ Watt wrecks games for every offense. There's obviously other big names up for this award. Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons being the big ones, I think. Nick Bosa as well, of course. But TJ Watt, as long as he stays fit enough to play, you know, at least 15 games, I'd say, he can put up the numbers to win this award. He has single-handedly carried the Steelers, I think, over the years in terms of their defense. Because as I mentioned, when he's not on the field for them, they're a completely different defense, and it's not a good one. Now we move to the Offensive Player of the Year. And this is the award for the non-QBs of the world, because that's basically what it's become. MVP is now the quarterback award, and Offensive Player of the Year is basically a wide receiver or a running back. And this year, it's a wide receiver for me. It's Amon-Ra St. Brown of the Detroit Lions. Now, if you do know me, you do know that I absolutely love St. Brown. I'm a Cardinals fan, but he's probably my favourite player in the league, just the way his whole mindset and everything. So, you know, this could be a bit of bias kicking in, but honestly, St. Brown is more than capable of having this type of year for the Lions. He's the number one option on this offense, on a team that I think is destined to play, you know, Super Bowl winning football. Whether they make it or not, who knows, but that's the level they're at these days. Jared Goff is a great quarterback, you know, probably not what we thought a couple years ago, but he has proven a lot of people wrong. And St. Brown as well, the same, you know, 4th round pick back in the day. He has progressed every single season and become a star wide receiver in this league. Obviously, there's a lot of competition for this award. You've got the likes of Christian McCaffrey, who, if he stays fit, is one of the best players, not just offensive players, best players in the league. Tyreek Hill's probably going to go for 2,000 yards, you know, at least try for that again. CeeDee Lamb on the Dallas Cowboys, they basically got nothing else outside of him besides Jake Ferguson as well, who I do like. But CeeDee Lamb could just eat for every single game, 200 plus yards, who knows. But St. Brown is consistency at its finest. If he could average over 100 yards per game easily, I think. He's that good of a player. And if he gets double-digit touchdowns, this is an Offensive Player of the Year type candidate. Now for my rookie lovers. We'll start with Offensive Rookie of the Year, given we just did Offensive Player of the Year. And it's another wide receiver. And it's maybe a bit of bias, but I feel like you can understand why this pick is Marvin Harrison Jr. of the Arizona Cardinals. I can't wait to see him, obviously, as a Cardinals fan, but as I've said in the past, you need to watch him regardless of who you follow. This guy is a special talent. I don't really need to go into much detail because of how much high regard he is held in. This is a guy that could be a generational wide receiver and have a generational type rookie year with Kyler Murray at the helm. I think they're going to be special this season. He slots in straight away as the number one guy on this Cardinals offense. Obviously, you got Trey McBride, who last season broke out in the second half of the year, but Marvin Harrison Jr. is the alpha dog in this offense. Michael Wilson's a nice piece, Greg Dortch as well, but Kyler Murray is going to be looking for the Ohio State product basically every down possible, because he is a special player. And my pick to win Offensive Rookie of the Year over the likes of the quarterbacks in terms of Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, who, mind you, I think they'll have great seasons in their own right. Malik Neighbors as well, but, you know, Daniel Jones is kind of throwing it to him, so I think his level is a bit capped there. So Marvin Harrison Jr., come the end of the season, is going to be the Offensive Rookie of the Year. And now for my Defensive Rookie of the Year. And it's going to be the first defensive player taken off the board with the 15th pick in the most recent draft. That is Latu Latu for the Indianapolis Colts. The other one that does come to mind is Byron Murphy of the Seattle Seahawks. I think he can be unleashed with Mike McDonald at the helm. Great defensive mind there. But Latu Latu is just a special player. You just have to go and see the way he plays, his highlights package, the moves that this guy possesses at this stage of his career. I've talked about it before. He's got it all, basically, and he's a rookie. And so I think if he can stay fit, and, you know, he's had his injury troubles in the past. He had to medically retire due to a neck injury. So there's a bit of worry there, but if he's on the field every game, he's going to be causing havoc from day one. Now we get to Comeback Player of the Year. And no, Joe Flacco is not going back to back. Probably, don't know if he should have won the award last year, but here we are in this reality. This year, there's plenty of candidates, most of them being quarterbacks that are coming back from injury. You've got Joe Burrow, you've got Kirk Cousins that come to mind. Joe Flacco, some reason he's on the betting odds as well, but the player I'm going for, it's an obvious one. It's Aaron Rodgers, the former MVP, multiple MVP winner. This guy, I think, could ball out this season for the Jets. There's been a lot of reports about, you know, him not being a great person around camp, but he's just being Aaron Rodgers. We know who he is by now. He's in his 40s, like, we know the type of person he is. But when it comes to football on the field, he is produced year in, year out. And so I think with this Jets team, he can make Garrett Wilson go up to that next level. He's got other weapons around him as well. So Aaron Rodgers, provided he stays on the pitch for more than 4 snaps, should be good for this award. I think the other thing that will help his case to winning this award is that I think the Jets are going to be very good this season. They already and still do have one of the best defenses in the league. So I think, you know, with that defense along with a stable offense now, they will win a few games this year. I've got them pipped for double-digit wins. And keep your eye out on the short videos they'll be making in terms of the division winners, because the New York Jets could be pipping the Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins, just maybe. Keep an eye out. Now we get to my pick for Coach of the Year. And I think it's an interesting one because it's a first-year coach and it's not necessarily a team that I think are going to win their division, but it's Mike Macdonald of the Seattle Seahawks. I've already mentioned him briefly in this video. I think he's one of the best defensive minds in the league. He showed that as the defensive coordinator from Baltimore, going over to the Seattle Seahawks now, who their defense pretty average in most categories last season. Average to below average. I think he can boost them astronomically this season in year 1. He's got great young pieces. I've mentioned Byron Murphy the second defensive player off the board in the most recent draft. And then you've got some nice young corners, Tariq Woolen and Devin Witherspoon. So he's got good young core at Seattle, which I reckon he can build around and produce right from the get-go. And then on top of that, I guess I do have to put some more context around them. I've got them winning at least 10 games, I think. I reckon they'll be a surprise package. I think San Fran will win that division, but we've seen it in the past with, you know, the Giants, Brian Dable. They only won 9 games when he was Coach of the Year. I think Mike Macdonald, if he can get this defense pumping, you know, Legion of Boom type era, maybe not quite that, but if they can get, you know, 10 wins, I think, and the defense is one of the best in the NFL, Mike Macdonald for Coach of the Year for me. Now, there's obviously no official award here because if there was, it would be a bit worrying. But first coach sacked for me, my prediction here is Dennis Allen of the Saints. I just have a very bad feeling around the Saints this season. Without giving you their record, my predictions for their record this year, I just don't think they're going to have a good season. I think it's going to be very poor across the board, offense, defense. I think they're going to be very underwhelming. Large part because of Dennis Allen. And I've seen it in the past where I just have not been convinced with him as a head coach. I think he was fine as their defensive coordinator before Sean Payton left. But as a head coach, he's just not convinced me at all. And I think with a bad start, with a very poor start this year, which I believe they will have, which is my prediction, I think with that sort of start, Dennis Allen will be the first head coach on the chopping block this year. Now, as I mentioned, the culmination of this video is my Super Bowl preview. The 2 teams that I think are going to make the big dance and the 1 team that will come out with the championship. And those 2 teams are as follows. The Baltimore Ravens of the AFC versus the Detroit Lions of the NFC. Now, yes, no Mahomes and the Chiefs. I talked him up as my MVP pick, but I think this year, you know, not that I necessarily, I have no ill will towards the Chiefs. If they win a 3-peat, I wouldn't be mad at all. But I think the Ravens this season are set up very nicely to come out of the AFC, a stacked AFC, mind you, as well, and make it to the big dance against the Detroit Lions, who I think also very set up for a Super Bowl run. Might be getting a bit ahead of myself from their last season's performance. There's obviously other strong teams in the NFC as well, but the Detroit Lions, I think, have rounded out their team nicely. They especially attacked their secondary, which was abysmal last season. They made draft picks there in the 1st and 2nd round, in Ennis Rakestraw Jr., the 2nd round pick, and Terrion Arnold, the 1st round pick. And they also brought in some veterans like Carlton Davis. So they've attacked the areas that they needed to and remained strong in the areas that they already were strong at. Then in terms of the Ravens, for me, they have for the last few years been one of the best teams going around. They've got a great defense, still one of the best in the business, so I have no worries there. The only worry for me for the Ravens is the offensive line. There's a few injury issues, there's a few names that, you know, have been struggling a little bit through training camp, through pre-season. That is the area that they have been labelled probably the weakest across their whole team, I think. But, you know, they've got Lamar Jackson, the reigning MVP, at the helm. They've brought in Derrick Henry, which I think will be absolutely huge. There's a lot of talk, you know, will it take away from Henry, Lamar, who's going to be this, that? The fact that Lamar is who he is and can run the way he does will open up lanes for Derrick Henry. And mind you, people are forgetting Derrick Henry last season at the Tennessee Titans. He was running behind the single worst offensive line in the league. So even if the Ravens O-line is middle of the table, bang average, he is still going to cook. And I think even at his age, you know, obviously there's a lot of talk about that as well. He's a unicorn. He's an outlier. He is still a beast. And I think provided he stays fit, which I think he will for the most part, he's going to absolutely cook in this Ravens offense. And so I think when it comes down to it, as I said, I've got the Ravens taking the cake, winning it all for this year. The Baltimore Ravens, Jim Harbaugh. Could it be the year? That's my prediction. So there's my predictions for this upcoming NFL season. I want to know yours in the comments below. Let me know what you thought about mine as well. Am I completely insane? Did I completely miss the mark? Of course, we're going to revisit it at the end of the season, so we'll see how I went. But I want to know yours as well in the comments. And if you did enjoy this video, chuck us a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.